Dear white people, are you racist? Hey, what's up? It's your boy A, aka Mr. Wright. Guys, today's topic is extremely controversial. So before I continue, I would like to make a disclaimer. Now, this video is not meant to hurt or to offend anyone. It's meant for educational purposes. And like I always say, food for thought. You know, get you to think a little bit outside the box. Now, with that said, I know that there are still going to be a lot of people that are going to have their panties in a bunch. That's what we call getting upset. Yeah, if you are upset, I would like you to ask yourself, why is it that you feel upset? Go really into yourself and ask the question, what it is that's making you upset. All right? Now, let's get into it. Now, before we continue, it's important that we state certain facts. Now, slavery started in 1619 and went on in Europe until 1833, where it was abolished by the Slavery Abolition Act. It went on also in America until 1865. Now, during the 17th and the 18th century, it was said that approximately 7 to 8 million Africans were brought from Africa to America as slaves. Are all white people racist? The reason why I ask this question is because of the fact that I go on a specific motto. If you're not a part of the solution, then you have to be a part of the problem. The reason why I say this is because of the following. Growing up as a child, I realized that most white people, when you told them about racist, oh my God, is that really happening? That's so tragic. Or, I can't believe that's really happening here. These were some of the stereotypical answers, or the go-to answers, I would say, that I used to hear. The reality of the situation is we are living in a world that is built by white men. If anyone fails to see that, then I can't really help you, because that's the truth. Are all white people racists? Want to know? Take the test and find out. Question 1. You're walking down the street. You go around the corner and you happen to see a black man face down with his hand behind him. There are 6 police officers around him. What are your first thoughts? Question 2. You overhear friends or colleagues speaking about a specific person of color in a very derogatory way. Do you say something, or do you shake it off and continue on your way? Question 3. A waiter calls the police on a black person. Now you're there and you see everything that happens. Do you speak up on that person's behalf, or do you pay the bill and get out of here? Question 4. Do you have black friends? Other than me, that is, if you know me. Question number 5. You're sitting in the subway. There are 2 people standing, a black man and a white man. Who would you rather sit beside you, and why? Question 6. Have you ever referred to a black person or a minority group as those people? Question 7. A black person walks into your store. How do you feel? How do you react? Question 8. You overhear a black person speaking loudly. What are your first thoughts? So, now that you've completed the test, I have to give you a result. Does this mean that you are a racist? Obviously, no, it does not. It could mean that you're probably an asshole, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a racist. Now, based on your answers, I'd like you to ask yourself, because obviously you're the only one that knows what you answered, because this is from your heart. So you're the only one that can know if you're a racist or not. And to be honest, most racists know that they are, and they deny it We can't do anything about that. But what we can do is, for people who really want to change, it's important that you acknowledge that you do have biases. Yeah, because there are certain people that react certain ways or react to certain people a certain way. Now, if you are one of those people, it is important that you acknowledge that you do that, because in order for you to change your behavior, you have to first acknowledge that there is a behavior. Now, with that said, I'd like to cut to a video of a educator by the name of Cheneys Elliott, who did some research in the 1970s about systemic racism and how people are programmed. I'd like you to watch the video, and I'd love to hear your comments on what you think about this.
You say that all whites are racist. Can you expound on that?
Please.
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that or you decided to educate yourself. Because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made all, everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to get over, we need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth.
So what is systemic or institutional racism? Systemic and or institutional racism refers to the ideas of how white superiority are captured in our everyday society, in the societal system, in our working day, basically how the system is run and how the system is controlled, who stays at the top and who is at the bottom of the echelon. The reason why I said in the beginning of my video that to a certain level or on some level, most, if not all white people are a little bit racist because of the fact that it's programmed. You don't have to grow up saying the N-word to be a racist. But what I mean by that is systemic racism is the system is built for a white person or a white man. The system is made that certain people of certain color are elevated and certain people of other color are not. And so that's what systemic racism mean. Now, if you look at the society that you live in, that I live in, wherever you are, this is the case because the system is always made for a specific race, and that is usually the white race. If you look at, for example, where I am in Austria, we have basically people that are working in specific jobs. Now, jobs, for example, that we refer to as jobs that most people wouldn't work in, those are the jobs that are done by the people that are from different cultures or that are not Austrians, if I may say it bluntly. Good jobs are normally the jobs that are occupied by Austrians. So this is what I talk about this is what I mean when I talk about institutional racism. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are going to be upset and you might think what I'm saying is wrong, or you might say, no, that's not true. Remember, we are all allowed to have our opinions. You live in a different world than I live. So I'm going to give you certain examples. Now, as I said before, I live in Austria. I remember a couple of years ago, I saw a streetcar pull up on the route that I was taking, and the driver just so happened to be a Muslim lady. And it was the most interesting thing to see how those people looked at that lady driving the tram cart. Why? Because basically they couldn't equate a Muslim lady driving a tram cart. Now, these are things that I see all the time in my society. I remember there's the district that I live in. There's a black doctor in this district, And I remember speaking to a friend of mine that knows him that told me that he spoke to this person and told them that he experienced, as a doctor, racism all the time. And even if in his office, where customers come to him and when they realize that he's a black doctor, they leave. A friend of mine, when I just came to Austria, and she asked me to basically call to ask for an apartment, to make an appointment to see an apartment. She specifically asked me to speak to them in German for her because she said with her accent, they would not give her the apartment. We got to the apartment and the lady looked at me and said, "Where are you from?" And I said to her, "Canada." And she said, "Oh, that's okay," in German. And I asked her, "What does that mean?" I said, "What if I said I was from Nigeria? Would that have been a problem?" And she said, "Well, the reason why is because there's a lot of immigrants that, we've rented our apartments to and they've damaged it." First of all, in Austria, we have a thing called Kaution. This is basically to cover any damages that you have incurred during the time that you stayed. So these are certain small examples that I've lived where people use certain things to justify certain acts. Educate yourself. Black Lives Matter is not saying other people don't matter. But the reason why we have to specify that Black Lives Matter is because there are people who do feel that other race are at the bottom and that white people are at the top. So there are people that don't think that Black Lives Matter. And this is why we have to have the hashtag, or we have to say Black Lives Matter. One does not take away from the other. And if you're a smart person, obviously you know that, right? So we shouldn't be having this conversation. And in order for us to create change, we need to speak up against them. Denying it or acting like it doesn't exist is not going to change. Hitler did what he did because people did not speak up. In closing, it is very simple. Racism does exist. Systemic racism does exist. And if you think that it doesn't, yes, that makes you a racist. If you are not a part of the solution, you are a part of the problem. You know that it's going on. If you don't want it for yourself, why do you think it's okay to give it to someone else? Guys, thanks for watching. Much love. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace out. Black Lives Matter.